Good afternoon, good weekend to everybody. Hi, how you doing? Um, just taking a little time today, this afternoon. I don't know how many people will show up in this live or not. How many people, but I will put this on. You'll see this later if you miss it now. Hope your weekend's going well. Um, just a couple of personal notes. Tomorrow I turn 64, which is weird for me. Um, the hardest thing when you get older and you have birthdays and you have a shitload of it's not really a celebration, it becomes more of a way of looking at your regrets, what you should have could have done, it should have could have would have, and you kind of look at the evaluation of your life as it stands now. That's a toughie, isn't it? That's the way things go. But anyway, the other part about this life is that things are gotten really crazy in the last week, and they're about to come to a head this weekend. This is the state of Minnesota. I don't know why Trump picked on Minnesota because of that stupid so-called journalist, that MAGA journalist who made up the Somali fraud. Now, let me just clear. There was a fraud situation, but that was years ago. It already had been handled. Okay. But Republicans leaped on it again because, let's face it, they got nothing to run on. And the Speaker of the House of Minnesota hired this guy, Jonathan whatever, to find dirt on the Somali community because Trump had been jumping on the Somali community, all right, in Minnesota, and this guy had invented that they were taking money for daycare centers that they don't have children in, so they're taking our money, which isn't true. There was a COVID based fraud case that was run by a white woman that included some Somalis. They went to jail. Okay. She's in jail. That had been handled. Minnesota's, like any state, tracks fraud. But Trump used that as an opportunity to jump on Minnesota. And because it was based in Somalis, he sent in all ICE to get them. That's why you see the influx of ICE agents. But then it got weird. Okay. I'm going to say this right now. We know about the execution of Renee Good. If you're in the state of Minnesota, it's the person you also have to blame is the Speaker of the House of Minnesota. That woman, with her fucking ego, wanting to go after Tim Walz for governor before he decided not to run, brought ICE to Minnesota. She killed Renee Good. She is one of the infamous accused of Renee Good. And we need to put that out there. Okay. So, backing up again. So, ICE arrived to deal with the Somali problem, but ICE never goes after their targets. They never go after hard targets, never go into gang areas, and never go where the criminals are. They go into the suburbs of Minnesota. The fuck you doing in the suburbs of Minnesota? Okay, looking for targets, looking for children. You're stopping children. You're stopping housewives, women. There are no known criminals there. Okay, this is not. Let me make this clear because I'm going to talk about Democrats' bullshit. This is not about immigration enforcement. This is about motherfucking ethnic cleansing, as per Stephen Miller. Okay? The ICE, as soon as ICE was given that bullshit ruling by Burt Kavanaugh, that they call Kavanaugh stops, that the Fourth Amendment does not apply. Um, you have probable cause if you hear an accent or a person of color. That literally was the beginning of the ethnic cleansing. That's it. As soon as he gave him that green light, it was on, and you could see it. Um, so everyone who's got an accent or is brown, a person of color is a target. And ICE agents, the majority of them are white supremacists, undereducated, criminals. Anyone they pulled off the street, fuck, you get to see ICE agents that look like me by the way of size. Look, I know I'm fat, been all my life, but I'm not fucking stupid enough to join ICE. You see what I'm saying? First of all, I'm Hispanic. I'm not a race traitor. And two, a man's got to know his limitations, to quote Clint Eastwood. Okay? And I watch these guys. It's ridiculous. They're all out of shape. They all want the money. And they have this $50,000 bonus, which has so many stipulations, ridiculous. If you haven't heard, there's $10,000 up front, and then you get $10,000 a year. But if you quit at any time, any amount of your money that you already got has to be returned. It's fucking insane. It's fucking crazy. But these people are there. But I don't think it's about the money. You have the lowest of the low, the worst of the worst, the racist of the racists that are ICE. Okay? There is no amount of motherfucking training is going to knock that out of them. Okay? Most police forces do not only background checks and ethic checks. Now, I'm not talking about small police. I'm talking about big cities. They also do psychological tests to see if you're not gun-ho weapon guy. Okay? Now, it doesn't work a lot. We've seen that. But law enforcement has rules. If you violate the rules, you're going to pay the price. ICE has no fucking rules. They can basically do what they want. We've seen that. There is no holding to account, which we're seeing right now. Now, I'm going to say this straight up, and a lot of people say it, and it's correct. This was an impetus for all of Trump and his sycophants, mostly Stephen Miller, to get to what they wanted, which was fucking martial law. Also to punish Tim Walz. They wanted to punish Tim Walz. They wanted Tim Walz to suffer because he dared run against Trump or he spoke against Trump. Okay. Also, they needed an excuse after the National Guard was told it cannot enter cities anymore for no reason, other than because Trump feels like it. So they were hoping that if they instigated the population, and we're not talking about the white population, let's be honest. They wanted what happened with George Floyd out there. They wanted to instigate that, make it a riot, call an insurrection, and drop the military in there through the insurrection and declare martial law. Now I'm going to say this straight up, okay? The Insurrection Act only allows them the use of military to control areas. It was done during the 1992 LA riots, but that's because the National Guard was overwhelmed and they were trying to get control of the city. All right. That's the last time I remember it being used, but not in the way these guys are using it. And if you look at it, Trump tried it again before Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Portland, in DC, and it didn't work. And I want to make it clear for one thing about martial law, okay, or the Insurrection Act. It doesn't stop the elections. It doesn't. All I hear about everyone, Trump's going to stop the midterms. Trump's looking to stop the midterms. Of course he's whining about the midterms. He's going to get fucked. The Republicans are going to get fucked. Hopefully. I want to talk about the Democrats in a minute because, my God, they are fucking pissing me off. Oh my God, I'm pissed today. Like I said in the earlier video, I was going to take a break, but there's so much shit. It's too much. There's really too much going on to take a break. Yeah, and it's Vincent Johnny. Hey, Vincent, how you doing, bro? Saying is that they have no plan. He removed the president of Venezuela because Trump basically had I'm going to be blunt, had a bowel movement, decided to do it, did it, and left a mess. Now, part of me thinks that he wanted an excuse to pocket that $500 million in oil he sold that's in a Qatar bank that only he can access for the good of the country. You know how illegal that is, period? It's fucking illegal for everything in the world. That's mob boss shit, okay? And to Machado, giving him the Nobel Peace Prize ain't going to get you that job. They already have talks with the vice president. They're going to try to solidify there. Okay, that it's just crazy. All right, and yeah, Mr. Johnny Trump on his tariff bullshit, putting tariffs on countries that don't support the takeover of Greenland. Trump thinks that's punishing them. No, it's punishing us. Products that we buy from overseas, from Europe, will cost us more, American citizens. Also, retaliation's already started in Europe. Here's the thing what Trump doesn't get and the rest of his cadre, okay? They think that Europe is just gone out of the World War II situation. It's just a bunch of rubble and a ineffectual continent. They have nothing to say. He insulted the Danes, the Danish, talking about the protection of dog sleds. Really? No, the Danish army is pretty significant. They could take care of their own, okay? I really wouldn't want to tackle them and the Swedes either. Hell, the Russians don't want to fuck with the Swedes, okay, who are on land in Greenland with German troops and French troops. It's insane. And Scotland has just voted that they're not going to let military aircraft land um in Scotland anymore. U.S. military. They're getting to the point. They're going to tell the U.S. military, "You are this close for us telling you to close Ramstein or all your military bases in Europe and take your shit and leave." Could you imagine that insanity? No, we're not going to close NATO, but right now, because we don't trust you, get the fuck out. Because Trump is living in a fantasy world where anything U.S., everyone jumps to. Okay? I'm going to say this straight up. The best imperialists were the British. Okay? The truth was the sun did not set in the British Empire. They were the best imperialists. We were late to the party because we were doing imperialist shit to the Native Americans here in the United States. We came late, hence we got the Philippines and Puerto Rico and Cuba from Spain, Spanish-American War. So we had no really imperial ideas. Even the Mexican-American War, all we ended up with Texas and California. Mexico kept its sovereignty in who they were. And yeah, I don't trust the Machado lady because she's a far righter. She's kind of like Maduro light. She did win the election, but it would have been the same shit if she had come to power. But Europe is not buying this shit because one thing people keep forgetting is that before Biden rebuilt NATO to stand on its own. Biden's work with NATO brought in Finland and Sweden, who didn't join even after World War II because of the threat with Russia, which drove Putin mad. Mad. Putin thinks that, here's the thing. If NATO collapses, if Trump does something that NATO ends, the European Union is not going to end. Their alliance with the other states is not going to end. We're going to end. Okay? We're going to end. Okay? And that's the thing. And as one creator put out, if they do that, let's talk about what happens. All military bases have to be evacuated. They will force us off those military bases. All right? There will be a trade embargo in the United States. Europe and the Asian countries and China own a lot of American bonds, which is debt. They could call in those bonds and literally break the economy. They could break the United States. Okay? Yeah, Mr. John, the United States always has countries that don't have the greatest military, but attacking countries that train with know your strategy and weapons and the citizens back. Yeah, that would be nasty. You know why the Ukrainians are working so well against the Russians on the ground? Because they were taught by American military, okay, small unit tactics. And the Russians don't have that. They don't even have small unit tactics, including non-com officers, small units that move independently with a goal. Okay. Russians don't do that. They're officer heavy. That's why they got fucked on the ground. Okay. The only reason this war is going on because they have aerial power and fucking missile power. But that's why there's a stalemate because they can't match the Ukrainians on the ground. That was our training before the dark times. But we are living under a madman, a really literal madman. Okay. Supported by 20 to 25% of the population that's totally fucked in the head. Okay. It's insane. The minority, the idea of the electoral college was to make sure that the majority didn't override the minority. It was not designed, the systems was not designed for the majority to be held hostage by the minority. That's some South African bullshit. Because technically, that's people talk about what ICE is. ICE is an apartheid. It's like the South African apartheid police. Because their only job is ethnic cleansing. That's all they do. There is no immigration law enforcement. This is ethnic cleansing. And now they're going after American citizens and they stand up. Okay. And when you have a bunch, yeah, Russian military incompetent, yeah. That's why the Russians won't mess with NATO. Don't want, hates the idea of Finland and Sweden on the border. Because I'll be honest, if they pick a fight with Sweden or Finland, they'll be in Moscow in 2 days. That's a plus. If he doesn't, if Putin didn't have nukes, he doesn't want any of that smoke. His military sucks. His Navy sucks. His Air Force sucks. He has nothing other than the sort of military power and missiles over the Ukrainians. Those are facts. I mean, I might be a little bit off, but I think that's pretty much factual. But domestically here in the United States, when ICE hit Minnesota, I don't think the ICE agents expected what they got. They really expected a bunch of majority white people to go, they're over there. They're over there. Go get them. They did not expect Minnesotans to stand up for Minnesotans, which they did. Now, there are reports of rural Minnesotans turning out their neighbors. Remember, the snitches get stitches. Do you know what happened at the end of World War when France was liberated and they were able to get a hold of the collaborators? Those who collaborated with the Germans, female and male. Females were had their heads shaved and beaten publicly and stoned. Men got the rope. Not saying we'll do that here, but that is going to happen. And that brings us to some, and let's talk about Minnesota. Renee's girl death was a surprise to all of them. They expected ICE to kill someone. They were hoping that they would force someone in Minnesota, a person of color, to do something to an ICE agent where they would justify the killing. Okay, see George Floyd. If it wasn't for the video of that, no one would have believed what happened with George Floyd. That's what set it off, was the video. Okay. And that's what surprised them is that it was a white woman. Now, it wasn't a total, a white woman who was doing nothing. And their old agent filmed him murdering her. He had that phone in his hand, aggravated, and they were stopping her for no reason other than she just wanted to get home. Don't believe this bullshit. Don't believe anything that they say. It's all a lie because the videos don't lie. They don't. Sorry, doesn't work. Okay, and I'm going to address some of those lies really quickly. But you could see in the video that he was filming. The wife got out and was talking shit. Okay, I'm married. You're married. If you're all married, you know wives, spouses will do shit. I'm pretty sure Renee Good is some. So get your ass in the car, okay? And the guy was yelling at her. She goes, "Dude, I'm not even mad at you, okay?" And his wife, was just videotaping or recording or justifying its, justifying its, justifying, just wanting to make sure we recorded everything. And she was leaving because she got to them. Get out of the car and leave. Get out of the car and leave. Okay, we're leaving. The window was open. She turned away to leave. And this man, because she was not afraid of him, and he hated women, and just was a little pissy asshole, put 4 bullets in him. Apparently there were 4. Okay. 1 from the front of the window, and then 3 more from the side. Now here's where it gets bad. Apparently, she was still alive, Renee Good. She was allowed to bleed out for 15 minutes. Do you remember the doctor video? I'm a doctor. Let me see if I can help her. No, you can't. They let her die. When they finally let EMT there was still a 30 pulse, but it was too late. They let her bleed out and die. And then that motherfucker went home, gathered his shit, and ran like the coward he is. And took his immigrant wife with him. Okay. CBS News under Barry Weiss is bullshit. Okay. She actually took a story from DHS, said that he had internal bleeding, had to go to the hospital. Really? Internal bleeding. Okay. And he had to go to the hospital. Okay, I'm going to show you this. I had an IV when I did my CT scan. You see that? That's a bruise from the IV. Technically, that's internal bleeding. Okay? Technically. But what they're talking about is that it put him in the hospital. If you have internal bleeding in the hospital, they have to keep an eye on you because something's leaking and has to be repaired. If he had internal bleeding, they would have to do surgery. You see where I'm going here? You don't go in there, I have internal bleeding, you're fine, go leave. It doesn't work like that unless it was an IV like I just got. Okay? And that's minor. That's just what, happens when you bang yourself. But that guy, that is a total fucking lie that the once vaulted CBS News put out and everyone ran with, and they're still running with. On the social media news, these guys, you Trump-fucks make me sick. I have never, ever, ever seen a bunch of people so willing to be fascists in my life, to be led and loved by a man doesn't give a fuck about you. You people have kinks. You got issues. Okay? I don't know. I don't have, you have a dominance, a submissive issue. I do not. Okay? I don't. And that shit should be in the bedroom, not a form of government. You get what I'm saying? And that's what it is. I have never seen a bunch of people now go with, let me rephrase that. I have seen that before, comply or die. That was after every shooting of a person of color by police. Rodney King, George Floyd. Every time a person of color is shot by a police officer, what's the first excuse? If they had complied, they would not have died. Tell me I'm wrong. You know I'm wrong. You know I'm right. And the problem was, and someone, I'm taking this from the Twitter, so God forgive me, but this is the truth. The problem is, you shot a white woman, and comply and die doesn't work. It doesn't. Especially with that videotape, those videos around, and the video of the actual murderer, which literally would convict him in any court. if Minnesota had any balls to do something about it. If I was a DA, I would have filed charges yesterday. What's your evidence? Here's a video. See it? There was no reason for the shooting. Even normal law enforcement do not shoot at fleeing vehicles or fleeing suspects. They do not. All right. Do not watch TV shows and on. They are not allowed. Okay. And as Rich and Johnny said, the only thing they're laxing on is that she was a lesbian. And now the DOJ is going to investigate her wife for subversive actions and subversive um, organization she might be part of that enticed John DeRoss to blast her wife's head off. That makes no sense. That is stupid. That's literally the what were you wearing at the time logic. And also, they're filing criminal. They want to go. They're investigating Tim Walz and the mayor of Minneapolis, for obstruction. Yeah, that's not going to work either. That's desperate. Why are they doing this? Well, the narrative ain't sticking. And again, understand where I'm coming from. It's not a slight to all to those of you who are of the Caucasian persuasion. If she had been Hispanic, she would have been an illegal alien. He was doing his job. If that person had been black, that would have been easy. The compliant die would have worked. The majority of people, even the people that are protesting, would not. It would have been an easy narrative to sell. Even with Renee Good being lesbian, they can't sell it because she's a white woman. And then you just put on display that the majority of people who are protesting are white. And then what happens? They go on a protest and you guys press it worse. Lance says, let's go door to door. They're going door to door without warrants. And you guys think that's okay. They're questioning people walking the streets of Minneapolis, asking for their papers. They are throwing pepper. They're shooting people in the face with lethal rounds. One guy is blind. Okay. They threw a tear gas flashbang into a car full of kids. All right. They are out of control. ICE is a rogue organization that needs to be taken down. They are not doing immigration enforcement. They are doing ethnic cleansing on the behalf of Trump and Stephen Miller, mostly Stephen Miller, through Kristi Noem and the DHS. And Greg Bovino is walking around like a short SS officer. Have you seen that dude? That's ridiculous. I'd laugh if it wasn't so disgusting. Good Lord Almighty! And then what does Kristi Noem put up on the podium? And no one ever acknowledges. One of us, all of you. Gee, where have we heard that one before? Why don't you put up in front of the detention centers, work shall set you free? Okay. But I'm going to give it to the Minnesotans, to Minneapolis and Minnesota. You people are hardcore. You people went after them hard. And my credit to you. A lot of you folk got hurt. A lot of you folk got detained. And you put the stories out of the horrendous conditions in those places, the detention centers, the concentration camp-like conditions in there that they will not let Congress in to see. Why? I wonder why. I mean, the citizens were treated bad enough. As one woman says, that they wouldn't even let her go to the bathroom until she begged. But those who were suspected immigrants or people of color were packed together, 40 or 50 in a room, basically waiting to die. And they did kill someone the other day in a detention center. All right. These detention centers are run by a corporate entity that doesn't give a fuck about them. People don't have enough food, of water. They don't get their medication. There are reports of sexual assault, beatings. We're talking um, hardcore concentration camp shit. There was one case in Massachusetts. Apparently, they took a child in order to see the child. One of the ICE agents made the mom have sex with him in order to see the child. All right, it's this is crazy. They are a rogue agency. They are Gestapo. And as Richard said, they got 3 Native Americans. They're holding hostage 3 Native Americans in Minnesota from a reservation until they allow ICE on the reservation to look for illegal immigrants. Well, here's the thing. That violates a treaty over a 150-year-old treaty. That is sovereign land. That literally is a nation within the nation. And these motherfuckers are doing it. And no one says anything. 32 deaths from last year in ICE detention. No one says anything. The GEO corporation is making money over dead bodies. No one says anything. And while Minnesotans and common Americans are fighting in the street with ICE, Democrats do nothing. This is a layup, okay? Democrats should be raging against ICE. They should say this organization cannot exist. It's not immigration enforcement. It is ethnic cleansing. You could see their actions, okay? We need to abolish ICE. And then we could take that money and put it into true immigration reform. Expand the courts. Border Patrol updated and where they belong, not in the streets of America, on the border. Making sure the system works easily for everyone to be processed properly and make sure they qualify to get the green cards. Okay? Immigration helps the United States business-wise, ethnic-wise. It always has. It's until Trump and his white and Republicans and the old boomers who hate everyone. And that's the thing. Boomers are going to end their lives as hateful motherfucking people. Yeah, I was born in 1962. I guess I'm a boomer. But I'm on the back end. I didn't live a boomer life. I lived more of an extra life. And it makes me sick to watch these people. Because I listen to them. They're old folk. I remember the RNC, mass deportations. Obama deported a whole lot of people, but he did it legally. And ICE is a made-up organization by the Bush administration after 9/11 because they were going after because they're trying to cover up for their intelligence failures. They knew the attack was coming, but no one would speak to each other. CIA, FBI. No one talked to one another. That was the problem with the Bush administration. There was a lot of fucking territorial bullshit. Okay? Until it was too late. If they had listened to one another, they could have stepped on it. But no, like any Republicans, they had egos. Okay? So it created ICE to cover for their intelligence fuck ups. And ICE has been really a pain in the ass for immigration for years. They've been given a lot of carte blanche. Okay? ICE is bullshit. It's not needed. It wasn't needed before. It was created by the Bush administration. Which brings me to pretty much the impetus of this life. Cory Booker put out something about ICE. Not to abolish ICE. See, they're coming up on the budget on January 30th. They have to have a continuing resolution or a new budget. And Republicans are pushing for an increase in ICE funding. Understand the $30 billion they have spent on ICE last year would have paid for 1 year of ACA subsidies. And they want to expend it by another $32 million, which would be another year of healthcare subsidies. Okay? But for some reason, corporate Democrats, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Aguilar, are talking about we're going to exchange ICE funding so ICE should get more training and body cams so they can reform ICE because they see this as a law enforcement issue, immigration issue. It, what's going? Anyone lives in Washington D.C., what's going on with the fucking water there? Do they not see what we see? Do they not see what is going on in the streets of America? Do they think that training and body cams is going to save Renee Good? It's going to save the people that are being abused at this time. Corporate Democrats have lost their goddamn minds. The only thing out of their mouths should be abolish ICE and take that money and use it somewhere else that helps America and revamp the immigration system. Okay? But somehow there's some kind of weird ass think tank called Searchlight that John Fetterman is part of that is saying that would be equivalent, if the abolish equivalent of defund the police because of George Floyd. No, because that did deal with law enforcement people. And they misconstrued that anywhere. Way. But you cannot sell to me and sell to the majority of American people that ICE is a law enforcement agency. It doesn't act like a law enforcement agency. ICE acts like thugs. ICE acts like the Gestapo, secret police, Stasi, NKVD, KGB. You put it in there, they all act like that. You find me a secret police that work for a regime, that's what you're going to find. It's the same fucking thing. And Democrats, for some fucking reason, are living in a different world than the rest of us. Now, there are Democrats out there running against these people who said, no, we're going to abolish ICE. We're going to go progressive. And that's the thing. Corporate Democrats are afraid of progressive programs. Now, understand, I'm not talking about far lefters. Far lefters. Fuck you. You people are the reason why we're here. You don't support anything other than burning all down. You know, you're ridiculous people. I've heard you. Some of you are running around going, where's Kamala Harris? Why is she around? Because you didn't elect her, you motherfucker. Shut the hell up. Point being is, they live in a, that's not the world that we see. That's not what's going on in the streets of America right now. Here's where the rubber's going to meet the road in a moment. And Democrats are going to have to choose. Tim Walz mobilized the National Guard. And if I'm Josh Shapiro, Bovino, little fake SS officer, said that they're on the ground, they're going to Philadelphia. Shapiro needs to mobilize the Pennsylvania National Guard. I'm going to talk about Philly in a minute. But if he does that and puts National Guard troops on the ground to protect peaceful protesters from ICE actions, what happens? You know, Trump is going to go fucking bananas right now. He's fucking dementia-ridden anyway, but he hates people going against him. He hates it. And it's Stephen Miller's losing his fucking bald head right now. And the biggest problem they're having, the question was about putting National Guard. They're afraid the National Guard is going to join ICE. I don't know. I don't think so. Why? Because you could see what ICE agents who do not live in fucking Minnesota, the majority of them, are doing to Minnesotans. And if you're a Minnesota National Guard from the community, you are not turning your weapon on citizens. You're protecting citizens for their First Amendment rights. And that's what brings me back down to Democrats. Democrats think this is a law enforcement, immigration enforcement issue. It is not. It is about protecting our constitutional rights. First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, even the Second fucking Amendment. Okay? This is not about law enforcement. They have broken the pact between government and citizens to respect our privacy and not to use law enforcement as a hammer. There are rules that the police officers have to follow in Minneapolis, but not ICE. And Democrats think this is about immigration enforcement. They are fucking lost their minds. So what we need to do, y'all, excuse me, is call Cory Booker, okay? Call Chuck Schumer, call Aguilar, call all Democratic representatives, the 202 number, the switchboard number, and tell them you're out of your fucking mind. Abolish ICE. Take that money and use it for the American people. Not to harass them and take away their rights, but to enhance it. The healthcare is gone. The economy's shit. Trump is putting more tariffs on there. Trump has turned the world against us. And you motherfuckers want to give ICE more power in the United States and more money. And thinking that training is going to save the issue. What the fuck is wrong with you? And that's the thing. Democrats are going to win the midterms in spite of those people. You know why? Because we're not going to vote for Republicans, regardless. But we are going to vote for Democrats whose message is progressive message, helping Americans, making sure America's affordability. We're going to work on that. Healthcare, maybe not universal, but we're going to fix the ACA to make sure you get your healthcare back. Protection from ICE, giving back your rights, and making sure that a new immigration program where everyone has a chance to come here legally if they want. Sorry, guys. Immigrants have built this country. Why do you think they had Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty? This is not a white country. I don't give a fuck what you say, Stephen Miller. It doesn't work like that. We are Americans. Period. With our own ethnic slant on it. Okay? Americans all celebrate Thanksgiving. Just looks a little different, different tables. See my point? Christmas, different things we get for Christmas. That was how we celebrate. The point being is this white Christian evangelical bullshit that never existed. Ever. We have been a melting pot whether you like it or not. And the only people who don't like it are racists and white supremacists and Christian nationalists. Period. Ruined this country. We all one people. Period. We all believe in the Constitution. That belief has held us together. Yeah, there's shit going on. We get it. But you ever notice, like with the riots? I was there. I remember the Watts riots, the LA riots, the riots after Martin Luther King was assassinated. George Floyd. Why is that happening? Because of the press against minorities in cities, and they lash out. But the point is of the lashing out is not to destroy it. They want to be part of America and part of the system and a fair shake. Don't you guys get it? They're not trying to burn down America. They want America to accept them and be part of it. And unfortunately, they have to use violence to get your attention. That's what happened in the past. If you kind of think about it, America was built on that. Why do you think they threw the tea into the harbor? We told the king to go fuck themselves. It's ironic that majority of white people rebelled against the king, and in Minnesota, the majority of white people were rebelling against ICE. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I think it's American. It's American. The only people who are not acting like Americans are MAGA, Trump, and MAGA and all the Trump books. And the rich. The very rich hate this idea because the idea of progressive means the middle class will grow. I do not I do not hate wealth. If you want to be wealthy and you work for it, great. Inherited wealth pisses me off because you guys are the worst people because you think you're entitled, never done anything in your life, i.e., see the president. But the point being is that I'm a capitalist, but I believe in a social network, a social net that everyone gets a chance at everything. And there's things you have a place to fall to, the shit falls apart. Because if you have a place to fall to, that means you could try for more things. Okay. Some people may sit back and do nothing. That's their business. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing. And most people are that way. Americans are built to be productive. Okay. Every society has their people that want to be. The rest, we are. That's a false narrative that keeps feeding everyone. Everybody works hard. Everyone wants to work hard for their family, for themselves, to feel better about themselves at the end of everything. It's only the far right who are taking the idea that people asking for help is wrong. You know, we do have socialism. Yeah, tax cuts for the rich, corporations. We subsidize a whole shitload of that at the expense of the middle class and the common Americans. That's truth. Ronald Reagan has fed us that bullshit of trickle down theory. Never going to work. Never ever work. They knew it was voodoo economics from the beginning. And now we have even more. We don't even have economics anymore. We have crazy. Okay, and that's going to come up too. So what we have to do is get a hold of everything and basically fight back against the Democratic Party too. We know what to do with the Republicans. We're going to handle them, and we're going to fight ICE every inch of the way. As for the Democratic Party, we have to warn them. It ain't business as usual, motherfuckers. Now, I'm going to listen to your candidates, but the candidate better be progressive and abolish ICE. Anything I hear excusing what ICE does, if they just need more training, fuck you, you're DOA. Simple as that. If they're going to come to us and say progressive won't work, really? You seen all those special fucking elections where Democrats are winning by 60% sometimes? The candidate is talking about affordability and progressive ideas. The other candidate's a MAGA chud. Hell, Lisa Peralta in Alaska has entered the race. She's already ahead of the incumbent. Graham Pelletier in Maine, they did their best to fuck him, but if he becomes the primary, he beats Janet Mills, he's ahead of Susan Collins by 6 points. It's coming, whether they like it or not. And we're going to make it happen. No, Republicans are going to benefit from this. Okay. Body positivity. Rich will get Ozempic, or people get body positivity. Let me tell you a quick note on Ozempic. I tried it. One shot. Fuck that. That stuff is gross. It made me sick. I was off. My whole head was off. Fuck that. All right. ICE deputies running for college. Jason, yeah, they're DOA. They're not going to make it. What are they going to sell on? And that's the thing. Republicans are hanging on to this immigration thing because they think it's going to work. It's not going to work. I said this in a video recently, and I don't know if you saw it on TikTok. I don't know if I did a version of it here on Substack. Is that if there's a good thing that came out of the loss of Kamala Harris, everyone got to see when Republicans rule with no guardrails. You see it. Now the culture wars can't work. They're not going to fucking work. They have lost the narrative. And people are, and they just saying, I'm going to make shit affordable because I'm some kind of fake businessman doesn't work. And people are understanding that Donald Trump is a con man. The only people devoted to him are his cult and the people making money home. And now ICE is going to Philadelphia. Really? After all this in Minnesota, you're going to go to Philadelphia. You don't think the Philly people are ready for you? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is hilarious, but that's kind of like the attitude of Philadelphians. You think that's going to hang? You think you're going to do that in Philadelphia without getting run off? They're in the suburbs around Philadelphia. I don't think that's going to matter. Let's see what happens. I mean, you're going to go to LA now? People are onto your shit. That's the thing. There are no more surprises. Okay? And when they went to North Carolina, remember, when they went to North Carolina ICE before Minnesota, just before Christmas, they lasted 2 weeks. You know why they lasted 2 weeks? What's the truth of North Carolina? Everybody, open carry. And people were showing. There was one guy who was, one ICE agent who was telling a guy, don't put his hand on his weapon. I remember the encounter in North Carolina. Don't put your hand on your weapon. The guy goes, don't put your hand on yours. Open carry. Yeah. Grandma chased, they were trying to pick up two landscapers who were putting their Christmas lights on. She saw it was ICE. She came out with a weapon. They ran. You see my point? They're pussies. They're cowards. That's why it takes 10 of them to jump on a woman. They always go after soft targets like children or people in hospitals. And that, again, tells me that the Democrats, corporate Democrats, do not care about us. They only care about the fucking money. We're going to change that come the election. We are fucking changing that. Because the midterm is going to be the starting point to start the push against MAGA and against corporate Democrats. And 28 is going to be the final push. We're going to rebuild this country. And the other thing we're going to make sure, if you're not a Democrat calling for tribunals for ICE agents and crimes against humanity that the Trump administration did, if you're talking about getting along, fuck you. I want my Nuremberg trials. I want my ICE Nuremberg trials. I want to see Bovino in front of a judge trying to answer for his crimes. Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller. Want them tried for crimes against humanity because look at what they're doing. I want all the testimony of all those people. When they crack open those detention centers, it's going to be like when they cracked open the concentration camps near the end of World War II. People are going to go to jail, or people are going to answer with the ultimate punishing. Because that's the only way to do it. You can't hide this anymore. And now it looks like it's up to us, literally up to us. And we still can use the ballot box to do it. Again, reminder, Trump can't stop the elections. Short of basically starting World War III and turning this world into a cinder, he's not going to stop the elections. And Republicans know it. And no one's going to vote for a Republican, even if there's a corporate Democrat on the ballot. Because we can deal with a corporate Democrat in 2 years or 4 years. You can't deal with Republicans. We see what they're at. You saw in Tennessee, what was their first? Instead of dealing with like economic problems in Tennessee, what did the supermajority Republican legislature do? Drag queens. They're disconnected from reality. Anyone who's in power right now is disconnected from fucking reality. They have decided to live in their bubbles. Well, it's time for us to break that bubble. It's time for all Americans to step up and say, fuck this. It's time for us to take back the country. It's time for us to live in the constitutional republic that we built. Every person of color built. All right, Christian nationalists and evangelicals can fucking piss off. Evangelicals are nothing but a cult. They don't believe in God. They believe in whoever's in charge of the church is taking their money. It's a fucking grift. And I'll say it as a Christian, I can. Because I'll tell you one thing, Jesus will rebuke every one of those people. It's simple as that. So so that's the issue. for everyone right now. If you are an American watching this or later on watching the replay, um, please call your congressman, your Democratic congressman. Call Chuck Schumer and tell him that that piece of shit needs to resign. Call Hakeem Jeffries and go, really? Did your balls fall off? Call Pete Aguilar and say, really? You're Mexican and you're siding with ICE? Call Cory Booker and go, really? How much is AIPAC paying you to say that? Call every Democrat and ask them. And same thing, even I'm hearing Elizabeth Warren is down with ICE because they keep thinking it's law enforcement. It's not. Ask them, is Renee Good's death not enough for you? Just asking. Because the American people are going to make that decision, and that decision is ICE has got to go. All those people have to go because they are not law enforcement, they're thugs. End discussion. That is the truth. So, for those of you who watch this, thank you for joining me. Again, you can see me here at Binder 38 US and Substack, Binder 38 and YouTube. Please join. Please like, subscribe there. Like and subscribe here. I do have a paid subscription section here. You don't have to do that to get my content, but if you can help me, I would take any kind of help to offset costs to do this. Thank you. I would appreciate it. Again, I'm still on TikTok. That's where I start the videos. No, you don't need to get a TikTok. That's it. If you want. I'm going to be still dumping stuff here on Substack and YouTube. I always do that. TikTok is kind of a sewer, unless you got like cat videos. But if you want to follow me on TikTok, I'm at RJ12764 on TikTok. But I usually drop all my videos here, and if I need something important, I'll do a short video for Substack to fit it within their little 5-minute time frame. I will probably be with Mike, the Rational Boomer, in a few days. We always usually do once a week. I reach out to him, see what his schedule is. But I want to thank all of you guys for following me. I want to thank all of you for listening today. Spread the word to call your congressman and tell them what the fuck is wrong with you. Yeah, tell them. I mean, fuck it. Everyone's saying it now. It's time to get down to business. What the fuck is wrong with you thinking that training and body cams is going to save us from ICE? What the fuck is wrong with you? Ask them. That should be hilarious. Anyway, thank you for listening. This will be up on Substack to watch it. If you didn't catch it now, you'll see the email. And also should download the YouTube. I'm hoping they will. You guys have a good rest of the weekend. Take care of yourself. And remember, like I said, there is still more of us than them. And we're going to win in the end.